last year we announced something called the Toon Species Election. And you guys know very well, it has been a long process. You guys nominated the species you wanted to see into the game. You narrowed them down, which started out with everything from cow to parrot, and now we finally came to crocodile and deer in the final round of voting. And so, Adam, if you want to start that drum roll. The winner of the Toon Species Election, which was voted for by all of you. They're pretty cool. I'm just kind of stalling at this point because the winners are.
Alright, we're good to go?
Alright, guys, and just Adam, keep us up one more time, sorry. Guys, just a heads up, this will be going longer than 5 o'clock just since it took us some time to get ready, and I'm sorry about that. But the convention guys have graciously allowed us to stay a little bit longer because of that. So let's go ahead and get started.
Nothing silences a room more quickly than the sound of an orchestra being tuned. That's all I needed, fellas. Go ahead and pack it up. I do wish the Toontown Symphony Orchestra could perform at this event, but unfortunately the convention center has a strict no-elephant policy. The band simply couldn't play without their trumpet section. Now that I have your attention, however, allow me to formally welcome you to Toonfest at WePlayFX 2017. Were you cheering just then? Did all of you really come out here today just for that? Let's try that once more, but this time with exuberance. And now, ladies and gentlemen, tunes of all sizes, it is my great honor to welcome you to Toonfest at WePlayFX 2017. Now you're getting the hang of this. Before we bring out the Toontown team and officially begin our Toonfest panel, I am required to explain the details of this event. For those easily excitable, be warned, this panel may contain exciting announcements, exclusive content, behind-the-scenes footage, the winning Toon Species, guest speakers, Toontown enthusiasts, passing miles, real-time jokes, new updates, overlords, panelists, big calls, weekly jokes, slapstick, accessory moonless, jumpy shark, shark shouting, live stream, weekly jokes, video releases, and of course our finale piece played on our finest brand, piano. Well, to fit all of those things into one toontastic panel, our time will be limited. Chances are you'll find yourself with some burning questions to ask our Toontown team during this event. And we'll be able to ask those questions during the Q&A tomorrow at our second panel in this very room. Stay tuned, as they say. Now, it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for. Join me in welcoming our first panelist and your MC throughout the weekend, Joey Zielkowski.
Go ahead and get Toonfest finally started, am I right? Yeah! So, how many of you have actually been to Toonfest before? A lot of you. I'm just so astonished to see so many familiar faces. You know, when we decided to leave Kentucky for Toonfest, we thought that might be the last time we would see you guys, but here you are in Pittsburgh, you know, complete halfway across the country nearly. And it's crazy. It's great that you're here. But, so those of you who have come to Toonfest before, know that there's something we have to do before the panel actually starts. I did see some cogs running around earlier. I don't know if they're here in this room, but we do have to, you know, we can't have cogs in here. It's a Toontown only event. So when I say, are you Toon enough? I want you to cheer and be as loud as possible and show me that you guys really are Toons. You think you can do that? All right. So tell me, Toonfest, are you Toon enough? All right, tell me one more time, are you Toon enough? That's awesome. All right. Now, is there anyone here who hasn't heard of Toontown before? Right over here.
We might not even be able to.
So you probably think we're crazy at this point, right?
We might do it.
Okay.
Now we do
Well,
it.
let's go ahead and get these slides started. So we're going to go through a little bit about what Toontown is, even though I know pretty much all of you already know about it. Sometimes it's good to get a little bit of a refresher of where it comes from. So Toontown Online was an MMO designed for, or no, sorry, let me go back. Most MMOs back then, they were designed for mature players. They didn't really have much regard for child safety or even children at all. They didn't expect to be playing them. And Toontown Online, I think, is really one of the MMOs that pioneered that. They won 14 of the 18 awards it was nominated for, and hopefully I got that number right. And it really pioneered the MMO family-friendly gameplay. And its unique style and charm, in the words of Jesse, there really hasn't been a game that's come around like it. So even to this day, Toontown keeps going on, and I think is really one of maybe the top dogs in terms of family-friendly MMOs. Maybe not in numbers, but certainly in community support. So, as you guys know, in September or August 2013, Disney announced that Toontown was going to be closing. Now, we don't want to blame Disney for that or anything, but we didn't like it. I don't think any of us liked it. And so we, as the Toontown Rewritten team, decided that we wanted to change that. And we had this weird idea that maybe Toontown didn't have to end here. And maybe we'd be able to bring it back online. And maybe people would be able to keep playing it. And so when we had that idea, we expected, maybe 100 players will come around. Maybe our friends and family will check it out, and it'll be cool and fun, and it'll last for a few months. And then, we get our fair share of Toontown. And then, next thing you know, it's been almost 4 years since the day that we launched Toontown Rewritten. We have over 1 million players registered for the game. We have thousands of people online every day, and we have a crowd full of fans here at Toonfest who traveled from around the world just for this game that isn't even made by Disney anymore. Which is, I don't know what we did to let you trust us, but thank you. And it's really astonishing because, there have been private servers for other games, and there's private servers for Club Penguin even, which is a game that but somehow Toontown has made a private server different. It's not just a bunch of kids running around with their friends. It's a community that has come together and kind of taken ownership of the game. Disney still owns the rights to Toontown, and we're very grateful that they've allowed us to continue so far one way or another. But it's just, there's never been a game, I don't think, that I know of that has achieved something as big as Toontown has, to have continued for almost 14 years, or already been 14 years, and still have such a large player base being ran by not even the company that originally published it. And so that's just amazing. But let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. So, again, this was kind of targeted just in case we had some people who didn't know what Toontown was, but we can skip all that. Toontown, it's fun. You defeat cogs, there's gags. The big thing here is that Toontown is free, and it has been for almost 4 years. So we don't have any kind of membership deals, as you know. We don't accept donations even. I know people have come up to me and asked if there's a way to, and there isn't. And that's completely fine by us. We pay for this out of pocket, and that's what we want to do. When we decided that we were going to make this happen, we knew there were certain things we can and can't do to allow it. And so, everything that we do, our motto is kind of that we're doing it as if we're Disney. We want it not to be a different set of people running the game, but the same spirits running the game now that were running it 14 years ago with Jesse and Sean and all the other Toontown staff. So that's what we try and do here, and hopefully that has paid off and that you've seen kind of the Disney magic still in Toontown, even if Disney's not the one running it anymore. All right. So I have a video here because even though you guys know what Toontown is and we've kind of gone over the history of what it's been like, I think the best people to describe the charm of Toontown are the original creators. So we have this video here by Jesse and Sean that we recorded, and they kind of describe what makes Toontown special. So here it is.
So I am Jesse Shell, CEO of Shell Games, and at one time I was the design director for Toontown Online.
Hello, I'm Sean Patton. I'm a senior designer here at Shell Games, and I worked on Toontown both when I was an intern at Walt Disney Imagineering back in 2002, and of course with the work that Shell Games has done for the racing and the parties. I was heavily involved in the party creation.
Yeah, so Shell Games is a game studio that's been around for about 15 years now, and we've done all kinds of projects. We've done a lot of Disney projects in the past. We still do some today, but lots of kinds of projects. We do everything from mobile games to PC games to web games to interactive theme park attractions, interactive museum exhibits to interactive toys. We do a mix of educational games and entertainment games, and lately we do an awful lot of virtual reality games. But early at the beginnings of Shell Games, we were doing a lot of Disney projects, and some of those were Toontown projects, definitely.
Toontown Online is a wonderful MMO for people of all ages, but especially people who are younger can go on there, feel safe, feel like they can have a fun time. The means of communication and the cooperative and teamwork, all those aspects are there, and they're very strong and they're very core to the gameplay.
We tried really hard to make a game that people would like, that would be meaningful to people, a game that would feel like a safe place, a game that was about being social, a game that was about being cooperative. We tried very hard to take what we saw as the Disney spirit and try and imbue it in everything in Toontown. We really wanted to give everything that feeling. We didn't want it to be a world where people would feel threatened or bullied or really put in harsh competition with each other. We wanted it to be a friendly place. I really think it's the feeling of Toontown that is what has kept people interested. And people still play it today, of course.
A lot of MMOs that I've seen, you go and you feel very alone, and they're all like they're huge worlds, and if you don't go in there with a bunch of friends, it's sort of hard to make those connections. And I think Toontown really fostered that throughout its gameplay, like the very core of it. All the different activities that you're doing in it support the others really well. It's very cohesive in that regard. The sort of, the continual approach of the college, of course. But yeah, I think it's more than that. I think it's the friendships you forge and sort of the adventures you go on. Maybe some of your group goes away, but you're always finding new people, and it's just sort of, it rolls on, and had a really great support. And I think that the fact that, now that the community itself is involved in supporting it and making sure that it can still be played, just is a testament to how fun it was, how devoted a fan base it has, that they're willing to put their own time and energy to keep things going. It's just pretty.
I've always thought it was a great game, and it's a unique game. It's not like other games that come along and they're like, well, they're like Toontown, just way better. It's like, no, there's nothing else that's really like it. And so the idea that it can have a long-term future, and I guess I'll say that's part of it too. When we built it, our thought wasn't, oh, we'll make a game and maybe it'll last 5 or 8 years and then it'll be over. Our thought was, we're going to make a game and we hope it outlives all of us. We were planning for decades and centuries in the future. And so, and I still believe that, one way or another, Toontown's going to hang in there and have that long, long life. And so, anything that makes that happen, I'm excited about.
Jesse and Sean for volunteering to make that video for us. And I think with that, we can all agree with everything they said there. Toontown is just an amazing game and has spurred a lot of amazing things for all of us. The ones sitting up here, you guys sitting in the audience, the ones watching back home. It's a really big community of people who care about each other and care about this game and are passionate enough to spend money to come here, to spend hours of their day playing it at home, to watch this live stream or watch it recorded or however. It's just great. And so another little tidbit about that video, if you notice there's kind of some different music in the background. And so that is actually the new Toontown Rewritten theme song. Inside the logo, we're going to be releasing a new song into the game that there's a lot of callbacks to the original theme song and a lot of things that were a little bit new. So we'll be able to hear that in its full length later on. So I hope you watch it. And as for Justin and Sean, they're going to be coming down here at the end of this panel to answer any kind of questions that you guys have. So you'll be able to step up to this microphone, and people who do ask questions, we actually have some bags down here full of some Shelby and goodies. So you'll be able to pick one of those up when you come down to the microphone. But for now, I think that there's something else that you guys have been waiting for, and probably a lot of you are very anxious about. So, Adam, let's go ahead and show them what we're about to talk about. Last year, we announced something called the Toon Species Election. And as you guys know very well, it has been a long process. You guys nominated the species you wanted to see into the game. You narrowed them down. We started out with everything from cow to parrot, and now we finally came to crocodile and deer in the final round of voting. And so, Adam, if you want to start that drum roll. The winner of the Toon Species Election, which was voted for by all of you, the pre-vote, I'm just going to stall at this point, because the winners are crocodile and deer. When you guys voted for that final round of the Toon Species, we had already decided that we were releasing both deer and crocodile. But it was really fun to see all of the fan art and the support, and you know, when you guys came in here, you were yelling for which side you were for, so we figured, why don't we kind of unite the community a little bit and bring them two species that they both really want to see. So for the first time since I believe 2008, both crocodile and deer will be the newest playable characters in Toontown. So, at this point, I'm going to pass it over to our panelists, who I just realized I never really introduced. So, let me go ahead and do that. This right here is my friend Daniel, who is just an amazing guy. He's probably one of the sweetest guys you'd ever meet. But he has done a lot over the past year, basically, to make sure that Toontown Rewritten stays alive. I mean, he's done a lot behind the scenes. He writes monthly newsletters for our staff and organizes team meetings and just a lot of the coordination stuff that doesn't get a lot of thanks. So this is Daniel, also known as...
I have somebody too. Mariel.
Also known as Muriel.
Thanks, Daniel.
Over to my left, I have a very good friend of mine as well, known as Sam Edwards. And Sam is really the brains behind TTR. There's a lot of brains behind TTR, but if there is the brain, it's this guy. He is our main tech ops guy. I'm sure a lot of you have already spoken to him about various things downstairs, whether it be trying to get the game working or just striking up a conversation about servers or whatever. But he's the guy who makes sure that Toontown can support as many players as we have. One of the guys, at least. But he does just a phenomenal job at everything from Panda 3D to security to server infrastructure, and everything else in between. So let's hear it for Sam Edwards, also known as Shotgun. And finally, we have a new addition to our panel this year. In place of our previous art director, Roxana, we have Gibby, who is, last year he was taken as new art director of the team. And so he does an awesome job with just coordinating all of the artwork like this, and artwork like this logo, and all the stuff that you've seen downstairs. He doesn't create it all, but he certainly created a lot of it. But he does a great job at coordinating our art team and also making sure that we stay true to the Disney spirit in all of the new content that we create. And so this time, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Gibby, who's going to tell you a little bit about how we're creating the deer and crocodile toon species. And at the end of his little talk, you'll get to see the very first look of the crocodile and the deer and how it's going to look in the game. All right, so here's Gibby.
Okay, let's see. Well, one of the first things is I'm really happy to see like all of the great suggestions that we originally got when we opened the elections. We had so many different kinds of species to choose from. A lot of them were really. I loved all the sort of variety that we were able to get, and that was like one of the most fun things to sort of to go through and look at. But once we had gotten all that information, one of the first things that we did was we looked at the results and tried to see what we can do to really make those animals represent the spirit of the game. So we created lots of different pieces of concept art. This is one of the concepts that our contract artist Katie did at the bottom left with the heads, and she and a few other artists. I believe. I did the cow, and one of our other artists, Cheesy, did some of the work for the toons who are holding the signs right there. And there was at that point where we were sort of we figured that these are the species that we felt we could confidently bring into the game. So once we had reached that point, we dove headfirst into all kinds of references. We looked at a lot of classic Disney material, like we looked at classic comic works, like things from Carl Barks, like the Uncle Scrooge comics, looked at all the kind of funny animals that that really represented the game's aesthetics. We even looked at some of the more modern interpretations, like the Disney's Get a Horse, that really helped us sort of figure out how to represent the sort of 30s and 40s Disney style in a more volumetric and shading kind of way. We also looked at a variety of different characters, like we looked at Elmer Elephant and the Fox and the Crow, just to see how we can simplify shapes, how we can best represent that sort of classic animation spirit. So one of the next things we did after that point was to look at what the game had already done. So we studied all of the existing species and tried to analyze what they did to keep things consistent, to keep that happy-go-lucky spirit that defines all the tunes of Toontown. And one of the things that was part of my job was figuring out that a lot of the characters had this sort of geometric style going where the heads were represented by spheres or egg shapes, and that a lot of the forms were very simplified, like the dog ears or the horse ears. They were very simple, similar to characters like to Goofy, to Clarabelle, to Horse Collar. And we tried to figure out ways that we can incorporate that into the species that we were, to the final species that we'll be releasing. So once we had done that, we created our first two prototypes of both the crocodile and the deer, and this was our first result. It's a bit rough around the edges, but one of the things that it helped us figure out was sort of incorporating that sort of shape language that defines the characters. One of the things that we realized that there were certain areas that we needed to figure out how to simplify, like ears, muzzles on the characters' faces, and figure out how to handle any additional accessories that they had, like the crocodile's bridges or the deer's antlers, and figure out how that will work with accessory placement and other things like that. So this is an example of one of sort of the many different revisions that we went through to sort of figure out what would best represent these characters in the Toontown style. So it's a little video clip that just wraps the camera around the deer and just shows one of the early ideas that we had for the ears and the look of the antlers. Yeah. One of the things that had changed from the initial prototype was really pushing that muzzle. We experimented a little bit with the ears a bit, trying to figure out what's the best way to represent the deer, because a lot of the characters, like Horace and Clarabelle, they have these very simplified ear shapes, and we tried to figure out ways that to make it work, but we ended up going with a bit more of larger ears, just to have a contrast between the antlers, so we would have a stronger silhouette. And these are the final results that we have after all of our research and testing and prototyping and iterations. So I hope you guys like it.
And so it should be said at this point that these are still not completely final. These are very close to what will be ending up in the game, but we certainly still have some tweaks to make.
Yeah.
So while this is certainly looking awesome and I'm glad that you guys like it, we also want to hear your feedback. So if you want to come up to us at the booth and let us know what you do and don't like about the deer and crocodile, and we'll certainly show you these pictures again if you want to look at them later. Tell us, because ultimately we want to do something that will, we want to please you guys. That's why we did both deer and crocodile, and that's why we'll make any changes we need to make to make them look how you'd like best. And also, if you come to our booth later, we'll be able to show you some of the sound effects that will be going behind deer and crocodile. So you have that to look forward to. But let's hear it one more time, just for all of the artists and all of the hard work that was put into it. All right, well that wraps up the species election for now. But I'm going to turn the microphone over to Daniel, who's just going to talk a little bit about, like I said earlier, he's done a lot for this team over the past year, and he's going to talk about some of the changes he's observed. So you can get a better idea of how the Toontown Rewritten team works and what we do besides blog posts and updates and bug fixes and Toonfest and all that. So here's Daniel.
Thank you. Well, I'm really excited to get to speak after the species election announcement because team reform is just as exciting. I'm sure you all are looking forward to it. So just a little history, just to go back. Back in the dark days of 2013 when we were not sure if Toontown was going to live or die, and we were trying to get Toontown Rewritten born, everything was difficult. And we've come such a long way from then. Like, for example, butterflies were a big deal when they got into the game, like a really big deal. And all the programmers here are kind of hating me for just even making light of it because it was a big deal, it was hard. But now looking at it, it's like, what? We've come so far. We've come so far. But that doesn't mean it's always easy, and it doesn't mean it's always perfect. For example, last year, in the winter months, when Toonfest didn't look like it would ever end, there was a bit of a dry spell. There was a bit of, like, we're losing our fire here, Moja's gone, are we ever going to get anything done? And it's easy to be in that spot and stay there, as opposed to like trying to climb out of the hole and get back on the mountaintop. Thankfully, we have optimists on our team, and we have people who are willing to do that hard work, who have drive, energy, and passion. And that's really started in the last days of October when Joey posted on Reddit a thread just about that, about where are we going to go, what are we going to do, and what will our goals be. And that thread and the comments he made on it ended up being a blueprint presented to the team later on for discussion for what do we want to do, who is going to do it, where are we going to delegate our resources, our time, our energy. And over the course of several meetings and over the course of several weeks and the weeks that turned into months, that became more evident. And I would like to talk to you about 5 different infrastructure changes that we made that have kind of made today possible in the way that it will be. So the first one is the team organizer role, which is my role. I think of it as a cheerleader because it's what I do. I am moral support in addition to being technical support. I try to find ways to encourage. One of the ways, as Joey mentioned earlier, was the staff newsletter. It's kind of, it's difficult to see what other people are doing. When sometimes you can only see what you're doing. And the staff newsletter is about showcasing, yes, we are accomplishing things. Hey, did you hear the new soundtrack? Oh, it's awesome. Probably didn't hear it before because sound is invisible almost, but they're doing great work, and you'll hear it all soon. So it's stuff like that. It's connecting the team together and making sure that everyone is not in that place of nothing's getting done. What are we doing? What are we doing? Nothing's getting done. Because there's always something getting done. Not everyone always knows it. So that's the great part of the staff newsletter. And the other thing is the team meetings. And while meetings themselves, like the planning and the delegating and who's going to do what and when is it going to get done, that's all important. But the main reason the meetings are things we should keep doing and have been effective so far is because they energize us. Because they help us to remember that we are a team, that we aren't alone, and that we can share each other's burdens, that we aren't stuck in this place, and that really, it's a reset button almost. It's like the next month doesn't have to be like the last. So, yeah, that's the team organizer role. And the next one, which I kind of think has been the most instrumental, is the hiring manager role. I don't know how we got by without them. It's kind of crazy that we went so long without this. We have 2 people assigned to this role, and they are absolutely amazing. I'm not going to tell you who they are because they will be mocked, but they are amazing. And they are responsible for applications, for reviewing them, for setting criteria, for making sure that criteria is upheld. And that has drastically reduced wait times. It's like it took months before there would be any real processing of applications prior to 2017. But now it's like email back in a week if you haven't heard anything. That's crazy. It took like a year and a half to get on the team for me. That's insane. It's so efficient now. It's amazing. It's amazing, and that has really stirred a new fire because new people bring new energy and new perspectives and new talents, and it's changed the team in an incredible way. The next one is the moderation coordinator role, it was initially born out of a transition period between moderation and leadership. We didn't want all the burdens falling on one person. It's just a lot. There were a lot of people on moderation, especially considering there were a lot of the hiring boom from the hiring managers doing an excellent job has fallen on moderation. We have more moderators than we have any other staff member. And that is, it's a lot. It's an incredible amount of weight to bear, and the moderation coordinators are there to help with that. They have drastically improved our standards. They have made sure that we can uphold a solid baseline for infractions and keeping the game friendly, and limiting the amount of mistakes we make. Because really, when we make mistakes, the player pays the price. And that price can sometimes be really difficult, and sometimes it's hard to reverse. And moderation coordinators are there to limit that and to be there to correct it when it does happen, because mistakes happen. And they are fantastic people. Really enjoy them. They are here today, Adam and Dea. Love you guys. The fourth one is for the art department. Previously, there was just one person. It was first Roxana, and then it was Gibby, and now there is a co-lead. So bearing the burden of leadership and getting everything together and organized, and especially when we are undergoing personnel influx with just more and more people. It's incredibly important. And both Maya and Gibby, the art co-leads, bring different things to the table, important things to the table, and we are so grateful for all that they do. And the fifth one is for the programming department. For a long time, our programmer roster has been pretty static. It's the same, and that's due to security reasons, a low pool of applicants, and we have high standards. So as a result, it's been stagnant, and our programmers are very talented people, which means their talents are required in the real world a lot. They're busy, and that takes time away from Toontown Rewritten. So Hoghart, who has been on the team forever, has been promoted. He is our fabulous programming leader, and he has brought on new people, and they have done excellent work, as you will see soon. Which it's gonna blow your mind. It's amazing. I love it so much, and they are doing incredible work, and it's amazing to see how the dynamic has changed as a result of just getting new people. I think it's evident that people are the best resource. They bring new energy and new fire. Back in 2015, I was in your spot, except it was in Nowhereville, Kentucky, not Pittsburgh. And I was a fan, attending, listening to the panel, and I was blown away by what I saw. I saw drive and enthusiasm and exuberance and talent wrapped around passions, and it was, I knew I wanted to be like that. I didn't know how, but when I was lucky enough to be added in 2016, I got to see all of that up close and personal and see that it's so much more. And I think there are times when other people, they don't see that. They don't see that the drive still exists, and there are times when people on the team, they don't see that. It's like it's dead, especially like in the never-ending Toonfest era. And so I'm here to tell you, as the team cheerleader, the drive is very much alive. That it's still there, and we're still kicking. I guess as always, the proof is in the pudding. So to celebrate Christmas in July, I'm going to give it back over to Joey who will give us the figgy pudding.
Thank you very much, Daniel, and hopefully, I think that a lot of what Daniel said gives you a peek inside the Toontown Rewritten team that a lot of you probably never seen before. Maybe some people, I don't know if that's ever been said, a lot of what he revealed. And so for this next part, I'm going to stand up because I don't know if I can do it sitting down. I'm not going to dance or anything, I promise. But, so some of you have heard that along with this convention, we're releasing a new update to the game. Some of you may have not heard that, but we are. And so I'm going to tell you about a few components of this update and reveal what it actually entails for the first time here. So, the first thing I want to talk about is some bug fixes, because all of us love bug fixes. None of us want to crash in the DA, which has been fixed, right? Right? The DA crash has been fixed. None of us like when our Toon's eyes get stuck closed, which has now been fixed. None of us like when we get stuck in our closets at the home on a new Toon, and that's now fixed. And there's a whole bunch of other fixes in there too, but those are some of the ones that you can look forward to. The next thing is something that we added to the game a long time ago, but it's been a feature that's been kind of neglected, and so that's racing. And so, as you guys know, racing, you have like a 50-50 chance if it's going to work. When it works, it's really fun, and then sometimes the timers go negative and you don't get your trophies, and we wrote that in 2013. Let's just forget that. And so now we have completely rewritten racing from the ground up. That doesn't mean, that it's going to look different. That means, however, that we've scraped out all of the old gunk in our code and we've written it to actually handle the capacity that we have. And that also comes with something called the Grand Prix, which allows people to get the 137th lap point from Toontown. Along with the Grand Prix, we've also implemented leaderboards back to racing. So the leaderboard, yep, here it is. The leaderboard standard. There's no longer a car crashed through it. We just sent some repairmen out there, they fixed it up, it was easy. So, you guys will be excited to know that racing is now hopefully fully featured filled. And that doesn't mean that you won't experience bugs, because there's always things that we don't catch. But we'll be fixing those bugs up as we find them, and you'll be able to earn that 137th lap point very soon. I have another part of this update to talk about, and it's another thing that I think a lot of you have been waiting for a long time. And so, Sam, if you want to turn that laptop around. Toon parties are coming back to Toontown. The party planners are here, parties are being made, and yeah, we're going to have some mini games and a whole bunch of fun, and it's going to be great. And so parties, if you guys don't know, was actually designed by Jesse and Sean in Shell Games. So you can thank them for the original layout and everything of it. We're just putting it back into the game finally. And so with those features, bug fixes, racing, and parties, I think some of you may know where I'm going with this. Because I've said a couple times that there's only a few features left that we haven't implemented from Disney's game. And once we complete those features, that means that Toontown Rewritten is leaving beta. And so I'm happy to announce that right here, right now, with this update, version 2.0.0, Toontown Rewritten is officially leaving beta. I know you guys, your voice may be a little bit hoarse from cheering over and over and over again. But I have one more thing that you're probably going to want to cheer for. Because you guys here at ToonFest are officially our out-of-beta beta testers. Which means that when we go back to the booth, right? When we go back to the booth, sometime before tomorrow, you will be able to beta test our out of beta update and be the first people ever to play version 2.0.0. That means
Who will be the first croc and who will be the first deer?
yeah. That means you have those bug fixes to test. You have parties to test. You have racing to test, and you have new tune species to test. So when we go back downstairs, you guys will be able to crack open your laptops after we make sure the Wi-Fi is going to stay up and everything. You guys will be able to play that update and let us know about any bugs you find so that we can fix them before releasing it to the game. Now, you know, these updates, they do take some time. And so by the time we release it, it could be, I don't know, maybe less than a month to the main production server. So that means that you guys will be able to play version 2.0.0 back at home within the next few weeks, honestly. So we're going to get back, we're going to touch up whatever we need to, and then we're releasing it. So not only do you have a new website, a new logo, leaving beta, and a new update, but you have the new tune species and everything that comes with it. And that is what we think is going to make this Tune Fest the best one yet. So thank you guys for being here. And for those back home again, the version 2.0.0 update, we have to fix whatever is found here. You know, you guys are our QA testers, and then once it is, it'll be released to the public. That comes with the new theme song, the new logo, and everything else in between. But at this time, I think that we've pretty much exhausted ourselves with everything that we've announced. And I'm going to turn it over to two very talented guys, Jesse and Sean, who are going to come up here and answer any questions you have about Toontown. So let's hear it for Jesse Schell and Sean Patton. You guys can sit right here. So I know that you guys have a lot of questions for the Toontown Rewritten team as well, but we're going to save those for tomorrow. And we'll have a full hour-long panel in this same room where you guys will be able to ask questions. We might take some from the live audience, and you know, anything you want to know about version 2 or out of beta or species or anything, you'll be able to ask us then or at the booth later. But for now, any questions you have about Toontown's past, present, or future, this is Jesse Schell and Sean Patton.
All right, what questions we got?
All right.
Looks like we might have some. It's working, Joey.
Okay, my bad. So we're gonna have you guys line up over here.
Do you want me to try to
As
start
you line
asking
up,
questions?
we'll have a Toontown bag for you.
We'll
And
just get there.
if we have to cut the time off, anyone still in line will be able to receive one of these Toontown bags.
Give me a little tighter.
All right, here you go.
We'll tighter.
Hello. So, since I did ask about the gavel gag before, there was another unused thing I know. There was the song and dance cog animation. Why was that cut?
Why was the song and dance cog animation cut? Why did we have a song and dance cog animation?
Very good question.
I know it was in the code. I know that looking through the face files,
What?
and since I like unused, I know about unused stuff.
Yeah, and I don't know that this is right. My recollection, because as we were talking about before, there was a time before we had gag tracks.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time when we just had a bunch of gags, and it was just gags. And we started kind of putting stuff together before we had it all worked out. And I have a recollection that there was like a hypnosis thing where you would hypnotize the cogs into doing the song and dance. That's one theory. And then the second theory that I'll put out there is that I think there was supposed to be like a song and dance attack for the marketing guys.
Cellbots.
Yeah, for the cell bots. And that we got rid of for some reason. And I don't, that's probably the better theory. And I could ask around, and Joe Shockett may actually remember better, so I might follow.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Princess Silly Gadget, and what was your reasoning behind the trolley games that played on the trolley?
Oh, no, it's a great question. Trolley games were one of the early things that we figured out in Toontown. So this is when Joe and I had spent a lot of time talking about like, what was everything that we should have in Toontown. We knew we were going to have the cog battles. We knew we were going to have, in the playgrounds, we wanted to have kind of light activities, sort of like the swimming. But we wanted something that was sort of in between. We were worried that people would get burned out just doing battle after battle after battle after battle. So we tried to, that's why we intentionally created the system so that when you ran out of gags, you have to go back and then like do the other games to get jelly beans so you could buy more gags. We felt that the game would be something people would play longer if you could go back and forth and do these two things. And the trolley games, one of our big things with Toontown is we wanted every game to be multiplayer. And that's why the trolley is like set up to be, the trolley is meant to be an easy system to group together a small number of people to go and play the mini games as a group. And also, for anyone who's been to Toontown in Disneyland, the trolley, the Jolly Trolley, as they call it, is prominently featured. And so we wanted to use it for that.
I apologize for my wording of my question.
Uh-oh.
That was a great answer. What I meant to ask were the specific games that you play on the trolley. What was the reason behind adding those? Like memory games?
Oh, why did we, oh my God. In the beginning, we were just trying to figure out any game that would work because it's really hard. 4-player games that can work within a certain time constraint are pretty tricky to figure out. So we were just trying to figure out anything that would be light and fun and easy and very important, repeatable. The very first one that we did is the race game. Is it still called the race game? What's it called now? It's still called the race game, right? That was the very first one that we worked out, and we were very proud about that one, but it was so turn-based, and gradually we tried to figure out if we wanted to do more action-based.
It's not just 4, it's 1, 2, right?
Yeah, right. It's got to be a single-player game, or 2 or 3 or 4 players. Is a very tricky thing to do. Those are actually very hard games to design, and we wanted a real variety, and so that was what we were going for. Sean did a lot of the coding in the original Match Mini.
Yeah, there was a version of Match Mini when I started as an intern, and basically Jesse said, I worked on the Creative Toon first, and Jesse was like, make this game better. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
and so
it was really, I know Match Mini is not one of his favorite, but it used to be really bad. Right?
So I took that challenge on. Also, for a while, there was a secret Easter egg where if you clicked on a certain spot at the top left of the screen, everybody would fall down at the end. And I don't know if you ever need to do that.
I vaguely remember that.
But yeah, so I worked on that.